Hi, I'm Rachel.
Hello, I'm Zoe.
Nice to meet you, Zoe. So, we're doing a grade 12. We've got a topic presentation, a discussion of your topic, an interactive task, a listening task, and a conversation. Have you got any notes for me for your presentation?
Yes, I do. Here are some bullet points.
Wonderful, thank you. During your presentation, I'll be taking notes, but I'm just simply noting down things to help me with points I want to discuss later on. So there's a clock there, if that helps with your timing. And whenever you're ready, do start.
Okay. Okay. Today, I would like to talk about the topic of immigration. I think it's an issue that has been viewed quite negative by many people from the UK and Greece. So, first of all, I am going to talk about people's attitude towards immigration. Secondly, I will outline how immigrants are viewed in Greece, and then I will contrast it with the situation in the UK and my personal experience, of course. First of all, let's examine the situation in Greece. I think that immigrants in Greece are experiencing many problems. It's quite difficult for them to get well-paid jobs, and for example, many people are taking advantage. They exploit immigrant labor by paying the minimum wage. I don't think it's putting it too strongly to say that some people are just racist. I've seen numerous examples of Greek people screaming on television saying that immigrants should go back home. There are cases of students, for example, that they were really good students and they got distinction, and the Greek parents complained just because they were immigrants. Moving on to attitudes in the UK, although I think there are some cases of negative examples here as well. It's quite different. London, for example, is a cultural melting pot, and from my experience, it has been quite easy for me to feel comfortable in the city and find a job and never feel a stranger. Is immigration a positive or negative phenomenon? Although many people might think that it is a negative thing, I maintain that it's a society can only benefit from immigration, because you do get places like London, for example, where you get people from all around the world, and you have all these different ideas and cultures and art and even music. So it can only be a positive thing. As I said before, London is a cultural melting pot, but it's also a center of cultural exchange. So to sum up, it might sound like I'm saying there should be no limits in immigration. On the contrary, what I'm saying is that the benefits of immigration outweigh any potential downsides. So this is the end of my presentation. Do you have any comments or questions?
Oh, definitely, that was very interesting, thank you. You mentioned there are issues about employment, the fear of loss of employment, the fear of the kind of suppression of wages and minimum wages.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you say that? What makes you think that's an issue for people?
Truth is, if you are in need, you'll take any job with any salary because you just need the money. So if you are born in a country and you have your family there, or and your friends and everything, then you have support, and then you expect better things, and you won't work for a very, very low wage if you think that you are very qualified. But other people that need the money, even if they are very qualified, they'll just take it because they need it. So I think what they might think is that since someone is offering the same services for less money, they will go for them. So obviously they think, okay, they will take someone else, not me.
So are you saying that basically immigrants work in conditions and for salaries that are damaging to the society that is hosting them?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that people might think that because they might offer their services for less. But actually, if you think about it, they actually might be good for society. They might boost their economy, because if you work for less, then you can sell your product for less. So
what you're saying is people's fear is justified, that they're quite right, immigrants are coming and taking their jobs and doing it all for minimum wage.
No, I'm not saying that. I haven't done a research on that matter, and I don't have numbers or specific examples. I'm just talking from my experience and what I've read in newspapers or I've watched on TV, what people think and feel is happening. And in my opinion, their fears are groundless.
Yes, but you're sort of admitting to the fact that we know economies benefit from immigrant labour. It's a well-known economic phenomenon. You like people to come in who are happy to work for low wages. That's what you've just said. So surely if people feel threatened by that, they're justified.
Well, there is another opinion that immigrants just do jobs that people in their own countries don't want to do. For example, in Greece, there are jobs like cleaners or workers that they're all immigrants. They do jobs that Greek people wouldn't touch.
It sounds as if you're saying that Greek people are not really ready to admit to the fact that they like the benefits of immigration, but they also want to be quite abusive towards immigrants for coming to work for lower wages and giving them a benefit.
I maintain that the government should educate people, because if they know how immigration can benefit their country, then they wouldn't think that way. They would feel that this is a positive thing for them.
Okay. I probably agree with what you're saying. However, people would say, well, that's a nice, tolerant, kind, friendly attitude. But in reality, racist attitudes are right.
By implication, you say that Hitler was right.
Well, there are people who believe he would say that you should protect your country from immigrants, that it negates your cultural identity, and they genuinely believe they are right and you are being soft, silly, no sort of long-term view, that kind of thing.
I don't think it's putting it too strongly to say that these people who hold these views are a significant minority.
True, but they're vociferous and I think quite unpleasant. I agree with you that their attitudes have no place in the sort of present day. Well, thank you very much for that. Now we need to move on to the interactive task. In this task, I'll start by telling you something. You'll have to ask me questions to find out more information and make comments. It's your responsibility to maintain a conversation. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Some people seem to have been born with a will to win. They are competitive in everything they tackle. Personally, I think it's probably more important to teach children to cooperate than to compete.
So what you're saying is that people shouldn't be competitive at all?
Partly, I think a little bit of competition. I just don't think it's appropriate for society.
But how a society can evolve if there is no competition?
I think that's a very archaic view that evolution and development only happens because of competition. I think evolution happens through cooperation.
So how do we manage to teach them to cooperate without competition?
Well, I think one thing we need to do, and that is happening, is take competition out of educational activities and almost remove them from sporting activities. I mean, to a certain extent in sport it's fair enough, but only in sport. I don't see how you apply competition to music.
But sports is it's a competitive thing to do. If you remove competition from sports, then what do? Then you lose the whole meaning.
I can accept it in sport because the sport is the only time I'd say competitiveness matters. But we've taken that model and said, if you get people to compete, they will be the best. Well, they will be the fastest runner,
yes,
but they might not be the best writer. It's the wrong model.
So what if they're not the best writer? They are the best runner. What's wrong with that?
But when you want to get somebody to be a good writer, getting them to be competitive actually doesn't develop their skills. That's what I'm saying, is this model of competition actually negates people's talents.
No, I think in a way writers can be competitive as well, because they keep trying to be better and better, and they have other writers to compare their work with. So,
well, but what about the person that's born without any kind of competitive streak? Do they get lost? Do we just say, okay, you can't win, you don't get looked
no,
at?
they don't, but they might be very, very good at something, but they do. Everyone is really good at something. But to refer to what you said before, how do you incentivize people without using competitiveness?
Well, I think people can get a satisfaction of a job well done, of a task being achieved as a cooperative group. It doesn't have to be that they've got to try to be the best, the biggest, or even the best group. Surely there is a satisfaction in doing something well, not simply being the best or the top.
Yes, but some people work really well under a competitive environment, and some they just like doing it on their own.
No, I think that's probably what I'm saying, is that it seems that everything must be geared towards competitiveness, and that means it's self-interest, it's the individual that is kind of the focus of all our development.
Don't you think it might be better if we just used both?
But if we give children competitive tasks all the time, they learn competitiveness is the main measure of success, not cooperativeness or cooperation.
But I'm not saying give them competitive tasks all the time. Sometimes, though.
We do that now, but we basically know that being number one is what matters. So although we look like we're being nice and we like cooperative things, but who's the best? The bottom line is competitiveness is what counts.
Nevertheless, wouldn't you agree that competitiveness has its place?
I think it might be possible, but I've never won, so I don't like it.
Fair enough.
Now let's move on to the listening task.
Okay.
I'm going to read you 3 short passages, and after I've finished each one, I'd like you to either suggest a suitable ending or answer a question. I'll then move on to the next passage. Are you ready?
Yes.
These 2 passages are incomplete. When I stop, I'd like you to tell me in just a few words how you think the passage finishes. Mary's always had 2 great interests in life, literature and paintings. At school, she'd always been hopeless at maths and science, but had excelled in English and art. Sadly, her parents couldn't afford to send her to university, so when she was 16, she left school and found a job. In her spare time, she was a self-confessed bookworm and a regular visitor to art galleries. On one of these visits, she was amazed to be offered a post as curator's assistant, which naturally she
accepted.
Thank you. Now the second passage. People always think of James Bond with lots of glamour and fast cars, but in reality it's nothing like that. In fact, they tend to recruit people who blend in. I go to the office every day, just like anyone else, and spend ages on the computer tinkering with search engines. Sometimes I have to listen to bad quality recordings, and that's pretty tedious too. Of course, there is some risk working in high security. I had to sign the Official Secrets Act, and I'm not supposed to discuss the job. But to be honest, there's nothing exciting about being...
No idea. James Bond.
Thank you. Now the third passage. First thing, I check the appointments list for morning surgery and make sure I have all the individual's records to hand and a bank of blank prescriptions. I check the waiting area to make sure it's clean and tidy, then open the doors. I greet people when they come in and ask them to take a seat. 2 mornings a week we have a walk-in session, and that can be quite hectic. I also deal with organising the specialist clinics held in the practice. As I'm the first point of contact, I get a lot of different queries, from requests for repeat prescriptions to emergency call-outs. What is the speaker's job?
A nurse, or she's working at the reception of a hospital or a clinic.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the conversation phase. I'd like to talk about euthanasia because it's something that keeps coming up in the news in the UK at the moment. Some people say we have a right to choose our way of death, we have a right to choose if and when we die. Some people say it is a government issue and it must be controlled by government.
Why do they say that?
I think people, particularly religious groups, will say that euthanasia is something that cannot be permitted, it's out with religious laws.
And how do you think we could, people that they are pro-euthanasia, how do you think they could make the government listen their point of view?
Well, I think they have to make their views heard. I think most people don't realise that there's such a powerful lobby from religious groups on this issue, and they're just leaving it kind of hanging in the air. They're not pushing against the lobby.
I mean, I've seen stories on the news where when there are situations where someone is so sick, they might have cancer or something, and they are in a really, really bad state. And maybe that could be a good way to get the information out there and show people that sometimes euthanasia is a good thing, because it's cruel to keep someone in life when they are suffering.
But that's what a lot of people believe, but I from what I understand, there are certain religious lobbies or religious groups who are saying we should not have that right, that is not a right of a human. And they're saying we cannot pass laws that make it accessible to humans to make a decision that should rest with God in their belief.
Nevertheless, it's not their decision to make. People, I think, should still make their own choice. Do you think that this is an issue that is confined to the UK?
No, I don't. I think it's something that's becoming quite widespread because of the growth of religious pressure, lobbying, fundamentalism, whatever you want to call it. I think it's becoming rampant throughout the world.
The reason I ask is because in Greece it's a big no-no. No one would touch that matter.
Really, as politically, would it be very risky subject?
It would be very, very risky because, again, religion is very important in Greece, and the church would never let something like that happen. It's too much of a hot potato.
Thank you. Well, now let's change the subject. Let's talk about the coming elections in the UK, the exciting moment. For me, elections are an issue. People fought very hard to get the vote.
Yeah.
Women fought very hard to get the vote, men did, black people did, all sorts of people fought to get the vote, and then 50% of the country don't bother to vote. I'm astonished that they don't.
Don't you think there is a reason for that?
Yeah, but what? Why don't they?
Well, maybe they're disappointed. Maybe they think that their voice cannot be represented by anyone. Maybe they think everyone's the same and nothing will change, so they just don't bother. Maybe it's a result of generations of disillusionment with politicians. So are you saying that voting should be compulsory?
Yeah, absolutely.
But how can that be enforced?
We could offer incentives, people could have reduced community tax, we could have legal issues where they, I don't know, can't do something if they don't show that they voted. I don't know, lots of other countries manage it. We should be doing something that compels people to vote.
Do you think that would make any difference? I mean, in Greece, it used to be compulsory. I'm not very sure if it's still now, but there's a lot of people that just vote for the Green Party, for example, or for parties that would never get into power just because they don't want to vote anyone. I would maintain that either way, it's still an act of protest.
It is. It's just by staying at home you allow politicians to just gloss over you. What I'm saying to people is stand up and be counted that you're protesting.
I see what you're saying, but wouldn't you agree that a good way to get people to vote and be interested in politics is have the actual politicians or parties do something, do a better job, be more interested, hear people's concerns and do something about it? Because frankly, I think that compulsory voting might be a step too far. Maybe the problem is down to the media. Politicians are constantly being undermined by TV and newspapers. For example, Fox News. Maybe politicians should be better represented by the media maybe selective editing should be stopped, so people get, the actual information and they form an opinion on their own. That could be a good way to get them to vote.
I think you've got it, absolutely. We'll change the world, it's perfect.
Yay.
Well, thank you very much. We're finished. It's been very nice to meet you and nice to have such interesting conversations.
You too.
Thanks very much. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.